Well, that is true. The framework we have is what we call a managed floating regime. We don't have a peg, we don't have a fixed exchange rate framework. It's a managed floating regime where you allow flexibility of the exchange rate. One of the advantages there is that it helps when it comes to adjustment to shocks, for the economy to adjust to certain shocks without necessarily losing reserves to try to contain it. The managed floating framework is still in place, and that is what we are using. It doesn't change at all. And so, yes, the city will fluctuate. It will change by the minute, it will change by the moment. And it changes, in reaction to a number of variables. It may be short term, it may be medium term, it may be long term. Several variables drive movements in the city. We've always said it that our objective is to ensure we don't have excessive volatility in the city. But yes, you will see movement in the city, all right, just that we don't want to see it excessive. Businesses were complaining that they cannot get dollars. I'm not sure if that is true. As of yesterday, I don't think there was a single demand for dollars from the banks that was not met. The head of financial markets is here, can confirm. We've been doing this for a number of weeks. And so I'm not sure. I don't think as of today, anybody out there will say that their bank is unable to secure financing for their imports. As we always say, it may be due to some documentation issues or other related issues, but we have to take them on case-by-case basis. We support the markets. The banks themselves also trade among themselves. And through all those channels, we are able to. If you do a simple plot of our reserves for the last 7 years, 6 to 7 years, then you will see it clear. The drop you are talking about is what I call a blip, in the last 2 months or so, or 3 months. And remember, before then, there's been, a lot of accumulation. But also remember what we have done in the last 3 months. A number of lumpy payments to IPPs, bondholders, sovereign bondholders, that got their money out. These were legitimate, payments that we have to make. And so don't be surprised if you see some dip. But what is important is that the trend is upward. You just have to plot it and look upward. The trend is upward. So don't be bothered at all. Look at it in context. Don't just look at the last 3 months and then get a non-interest banking. Yes, Professor Gachi is here. He's been doing an excellent job at it. We've done a lot of sensitization. They are almost to the end. I believe something is going to Parliament, and then thereafter we can get to the implementation phase. Whether we can see licensing of these by the end of the year, we are doing our best. Let's see what happens. As you are aware, Parliament is on recess, I guess. And so when they come back later in October or so, we'll take them and see how far we can go with that. But the commitment remains the same. We are pushing ahead with that effort. Then forbearance, that as you mentioned, we give them up to December 2025 this year. We are not there yet. And so when we get to December, we will reassess, the whole framework, and then we'll be guided by what we do from there. But rest assured, our objective to ensure financial stability at all times remains, and we will ensure that very strictly. Journal about remittances. Well, the banks have, they have confirmed that they've observed a decline, in terms of remittance inflows. And so, yes, the evidence is there. Formerly, they were getting more of these inflows, which they were using to support imports. And so earlier in the year, there was quite, a substantial amount of interbank trading. And when that happens, the central bank wouldn't have to support the market that much. Suddenly, the flows have reduced, and so yes, the evidence is there, but we are working on it. Remember, we introduced a number of measures about a month or so ago. We are beginning to see the dividends from those measures that we have announced. We are beginning to see some of the IMTOs, beginning to, reroute those flows back into the country. And our desire is to see greater levels of interbank market trading. We hope to see that going forward. And still on remittances, going forward, we do expect that our expectations in terms of remittances for the year will be achieved. When we mentioned earlier that the appreciation of the CD may have played a role, yes, it could have. Yes, it could have. But what's important is that we've taken a number of measures to bring back those flows into the economy. Then the end-year inflation target, yes, we are confident, barring any new shocks, that end-year inflation will certainly fall within the target band. Whether we are revising the end-year target, no, that decision hasn't been taken as yet. What is important is that we achieve that medium-term target, and then we are able to stay within that target. So we haven't revised the end year figure for inflation. The stability of the CD, whether this was considered, by the MPC in reaching this decision, yes, very much so. If you read the statement, we spoke about, strong sterilization efforts in spite of the reduction in the policy rate. In fact, if you look at the last decision that was made, that too, we lowered the rate by 300 basis points. But if you look at the sterilization effort that went in, it's been very strong. In other words, the monetary policy stance was kept appropriate. And so we did not see the negative impacts you would want to see in terms of liquidity injection, etc. That same effort is going to be deployed even with this decision. And so stability of the CD shouldn't be a problem, regardless of the decision that we have made. Remember that also that the cocoa season is just kicking off. And so we envisage inflows of cocoa. We are beginning to see a pickup in gold exports. And so a combination of these will certainly come in and help to keep the CD stable. Then those FX measures that was announced to suspend FX withdrawals by the large corporates. For now, it is a permanent measure. We observed that there were certain practices where some of these large corporates who really do not need FX cash, locally, were withdrawing such sums, and then those sums were ending up, elsewhere. And so we met with the banks. I mean, these things are done upon consultations. We met with the banks, we discussed it, and we came to the conclusion that for the large corporates, we can suspend those direct withdrawals. However, if it is FX that they deposited themselves, cash, into those accounts, it's their own money. So they are entitled to it without charge. Then the virtual assets bill. Suleiman, you asked about it. Yes, we've done a lot of work on the bill. The bill is ready. It's now at the Attorney General's department. In fact, from Friday, we are meeting the Finance Committee of Parliament to take them through that bill. We really want to pass that bill before the end of this year. So yes, we've done our part. We've drafted it. Now it's for Parliament to engage and to see it. Why the markets are not responding to the data that we have. That's my point, exactly the point I always make. We released, the data yesterday, and you could see where the economy is. If you look at our reserves, like I said, look at the data over the last 7 years. Don't just look at, the last 7 months, and then, you go into a frenzy. Look at the data over the last 7 years. You could see clearly that even if you look at it over the past 1 year, the trend is upward. So if you see a little blip, it doesn't mean things are getting out of hand. The trend is still upward. And as I've mentioned, we are entering the cocoa season. Gold is picking up, remittances, because of the forex measures, the measures that we have announced, we are beginning to see a return of those inflows. So yes, we'll build up our reserves. Remittances will come back in. Interbank trading will resume. If you look at the last part of my statement, I spoke about the other measure where we revised the net open position limits for banks. That measure, for example, is meant to support greater levels of interbank market trading. And so all those measures are very much intended to contain the pressure on the cedi, notwithstanding the fact that we lowered the policy rate. So I encourage all of you, the media, please make use of our data. That should inform you on what is happening in the economy, whether there should be a pressure on the cedi. If you ask me, there's really no reason why anybody, should be anxious about the cedi. Like I said, as of yesterday, every import demand that any of the 23 banks, submitted to us as of yesterday was met. And we'll be meeting this for a number of weeks now. So where is the anxiety coming from? We have enough reserves to support whatever imports that are coming up in the fourth quarter, Christmas season imports, you name it. We have our projected, cash flow table. We figured everything out in our cash flow table, and we have the reserves covered to keep these. So there shouldn't be any anxiety at all about the exchange rate going forward.
126th press brief, and will now make way for the governor.